understand what is the process being involved. Okay, so as an author, because this particular webinar, we are going to concentrate.
And when you talk about the research question, how to write a good research question, the good research question would make
you can enjoy with this journey to benefit from this chat GPT. Actually,
Greetings to all the participants present here. On behalf of QA Research and Publications, I would like to welcome you all for the webinar on Digital Transformation, Driving the Emerging Technologies Way. To start with, let me give you a brief about QA Research and Publications. QA serves as a platform QA serves as a platform to publish research articles in prominent journals and conferences proceedings. We assist authors in publishing their research findings in high impact factor journals, promoting their work, enhancing their reputation, and building a strong scientific profile. Among several indexing databases, Scopus is one of the most preferred for publishing articles. The wide recognition and impact of these journals make them highly valued in their academic careers. We have recently collaborated with the Scopus Q1 journal F1000 Research published by Taylor and Francis. The authors can now easily submit their articles through a partnered gateway with F1000. F1000 Research is an open research publishing platform for scientists, scholars, and clinicians that offers rapid publication of articles and other research output without editorial bias. All all articles benefits from transparent peer review and editorial guidance on making all source data openly available. Now, I would like to welcome our speaker, Dr. Michael Barron, who has over 20 years of experience in IT project management, data analytics, and digital transformation consulting, as well as managing, developing, and delivering both postgraduate and undergraduate universities programs, as well as supervising research projects and degrees. His books and articles over a wide range of business, technology, higher education, and educational policy related areas and have been published not only in Australia but also in Singapore, China, Russia, Germany, and the UK. He has been lecturing MBA and MIS students at some of the leading Australian universities. In 2013, he was voted by students of the Charleston University as the university's #1 lecturer, narrowly missing the list of top 10 Australian lecturers. In 2003, he founded Barron Consulting, one of the Australia's leading consulting and training agencies in the field of digital transformation. The consulting and training services are currently available in Australia, Melbourne and Sydney, China, Singapore, and New Zealand. Once again, we welcome you, Doctor. You may start now.
Thank you so much for the hearty introduction and for having me over. Really appreciate it. You mentioned that I've been in business from the year 2003. Makes me feel like a dinosaur in this changing world. But as far as digital transformation is concerned, even dinosaurs have to transform so they don't become extinct. So I guess myself and many of my clients were just trying to make sure that in this brave new world, we do survive. Just arranging screen share. So what I would like to talk about today is the current phase of digital transformation, what it's all about, what are the different dimensions, and how can we not only survive it, but make the most out of it. And of course, the role of the technology that we need to accept and celebrate rather than fear. Because initially, digital transformation came with a lot of fear. It's normal, I guess, fear of the unknown. But as time is going by and the benefits are becoming transparent, we suddenly realize that this is the way to go. And at the very same time, no need to be scared of fancy technologies. They're not that difficult to learn and to deploy as they appear to be at first sight. So this is me. And if you go through my LinkedIn, you'll be able to find out more about what I do, what my company does. And of course, you are most welcome to connect, because I would love to get to know more people and find more parties, more companies, more organizations, more agencies to collaborate with. Now, some interesting dimensions that we need to consider, conflicting dimensions, if you like. So for today's presentation, I decided to take a look at the digital transformation definition by ChatGPT. Fair enough. Since we're relying so much on technology, why can't it help me out on this particular matter? And to my, I wouldn't say surprise, to my expectation, it came up with a very decent definition. According to ChatGPT, digital transformation refers to the integration of digital technology into all aspects of the organization, fundamentally changing how it runs and how we deliver value to customers, leveraging technology advancements to streamline processes, enhance efficiency, and innovate business models. So after reading this, you may feel great. We don't have to worry about learning how to adopt the technologies. Instead, whenever we get stuck, all we have to do is to go to ChatGPT or go to other AI agents. But is it that simple? Can we trust AI blindly? Maybe sometimes we cannot. And here's some examples of what happens if you trust AI without having human controls. So those are the two images that AI has provided fairly recently. The first one is Bill Gates fixing Windows. For those who are not aware, Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. And the second one is Mother Teresa fighting poverty. AI has taken the request to depict how Mother Teresa is fighting poverty literally, and this is the image it came up with. And I think both are true. The accurate definitions and somehow sometimes accurate images, and equally inaccurate definitions and images on other occasions. So it's all about us understanding how to work the transformation. And now comes a little story, a COVID time story about importance of transformation and how it often happens. So my background, my Zoom background, it shows my home city of Melbourne, shows it on one of the brighter days. It's unfortunately, let's be honest, usually not that sunny, not that bright, but it is a very nice place. And for those who are not familiar, at some point we were a global capital for lockdown and a global capital for curfews. That was during COVID times. And at the time, it all happened very suddenly. Companies suddenly had to go online. Many companies had to stop running face-to-face services because people were not allowed to leave their houses and move fully into online mode. So within few days, I had to come up with some process, how to get my clients online. They were desperate. I was not very confident how I'm going to do it for them, to be honest, at first, but we had to get it done. This is why I now fully appreciate old Chinese saying, every crisis is an opportunity. So this is the process that I managed to come up with for digital transformation to be started from scratch. First of all, stabilization. Understand where you are standing in business right now and stabilize the processes. It is particularly critical for large, diverse organizations that have many different processes happening at the same time. You may have different outlets of a business doing things very differently. You need to stabilize them and you need to standardize them. You need to bring them to common denominator before you can transform those. I'm not a big fan of fast foods. In fact, I don't think they're my cup of tea. However, there are some lessons we can learn from the fast food joints, such as McDonald's. Quality of food aside, look at the standards, not necessarily high standards, but consistent standards they have been successful to accomplish. Maybe the food is not great, but whichever outlet you go to, you get more or less the same dishes. From the food enjoyment perspective, maybe not such a big deal. From the business perspective, it's absolutely fantastic. And if you need to put a business online, you need to understand what those standards are, because you are not able to diversify throughout different aspects, throughout this ocean of different processes, if they are not standard. What it is that you are putting online, outlet 1, outlet 7, outlet 25, or the entire enterprise. After standardizing, another important point, optimizing. Think how to make processes better. When we're putting the processes online, it's a great opportunity for us to make things better. Great opportunity for us to review how we do things and think whether there is a better way, whether there is a cheaper way, whether there is a more user-friendly way of doing things. And only after this is done, bingo, off to digital transformation. So we don't just start building new digital enterprises, new digital kingdoms. We first understand where we're at, what is our business proposition, and how we need to transform it with the help of the emerging technologies. So some of the digital transformation rules that I believe in, and it is a very subjective matter, so I'm sure some of you may be having different views on what it takes to transform and what the goals of the transformation should be. This is this perspective of mine, and this is what myself and my company have been advocating. So the very first principle of digital transformation, coming to terms and understanding the current dynamic scenario with the focus on creating futures. When we are moving our company online, when we are moving business online, moving university online, moving government services online, we are not trying to simply recreate what we have been doing offline. We are trying to build something better, creating better futures, not replicating what we were doing before. We're living in a very transformational society where if we're not proactive, if we are reactive, we will be left behind. If we're staying where we are and not moving forward, we will not be able to keep our niche market simply because others will be moving forward. It's very competitive. Opportunities are now emerging much faster. They're growing like mushrooms after the rain because it's literally a global marketplace and a lot of the, the regulated niche markets that we can try to penetrate. But at the very same time, so can our competitors. So we need to understand what the future trends are and ride this wave of future trends. Otherwise, others will ride the wave, will be duly reproducing our processes from the past. Very soon, we will become their past. Digital transformation principle number 2. establishing protocols. The new world, the digital world, is very exciting, but we need to understand what the rules are. And it's not just because governments around the globe want to have some law and order around the digital marketplaces. Everybody is criticizing them, saying they're making lives of the enterprises and universities difficult. There are positives as well. You got to have some standards. There's more to it. For us to deliver consistent service, we need to understand how to do it. If you are dealing with my company, you are not dealing with me personally. There are certain service delivery expectations that fall upon the entire organization. So how do we make sure that everybody is able to deliver consistent service, having some rules and regulations? Mind you, my company is a small consultancy. What if you are dealing with a large enterprise? Can you have the same expectation? Even more so. So we need to have some protocols. And this is where many organizations have been struggling, consistently implementing protocols. I have several clients in higher education sector. And moving online, moving digital, I guess it was instrumental for them to understand how poorly they were performing in terms of integration prior to going digital. You had different departments of the same university, sometimes within the same faculty, that were not really interacting with one another. Government services. To my great dismay, I discovered that government departments, which were located in the same building, and they were the ones who were often screaming, look, we need to keep doing things traditional way, we don't need to go digital. They were not communicating with one another. Two government departments, which are servicing, let's just say, related industries, they don't work hand in hand. So you need to understand what the new relationships are going to be, carefully document those relationships, and religiously follow the rules, at least when you are starting out. Otherwise, consistency will not be accomplished. You can have many talented individuals, they will not work well together without those rules. One example that comes to mind, of course, unrelated specifically to the digital universe. When I was young, I loved watching all kinds of fancy soccer matches. And the most fancy soccer matches would take place when a famous soccer player was about to retire. His club would organize a match for him. His soccer team, sometimes not even the best soccer team in his country, would play in the so-called team of stars. Top soccer players from around the world would come over. They would play as a team against this, not even national team in many cases, but a club team. And often the club team would win because they were so much better organized. And those superstars, because they were not used to playing together, they were getting together without much collaborative training just for this one occasion. They couldn't play well as a team. So teamwork is really the key. And teamwork is impossible without those rules and regulations. Last but not least is the frame of mind. We need to appreciate the deregulated environments we're operating in and the opportunities. One problem with COVID, and I think it was maybe, aside from the health issues, the biggest problem was the attitude that many companies, many management bodies were displaying at the time. They were not trying to celebrate the opportunities. They were very worried that traditional supply chain, traditional business relationships, traditional environment were disrupted. It was very sad indeed. But at some point, when we look at the world around us, some things we have to accept. It is what it is. When my city and my country went into lockdown and we're under curfew. I wasn't happy. I was not 100% sure it's the best way from the medical perspective to handle the problem. But beyond this, I had to accept the situation. I had to accept the situation that some suppliers were not able to deliver goods without restructuring their processes as fluently as before. We need to understand the environment keeps changing. New technologies are changing the business landscape. Sometimes we're happy about those, sometimes we're not. In the end of the day, the technologies are going to move forward anyway. We need to try to appreciate and understand. My generation can understand with an effort. If even my generation can understand with an effort, I'm sure younger ones can understand even better. I'll give you one example. Going to school, because I was always very interested in money. During the economics class, I asked my teacher, what happens if I make my own money? And the teacher gave me a strange look and said, you will go to prison. Nobody can make money. Only governments can make money. Only governments can print money. I think you already guessed what I'm getting onto. And then because of the blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies come on board. And at first, the very concept is just mind-blowing for me. Where does it come from? Who is behind it? Is it the banks? Is it the government? How can somebody simply produce own currency? NFTs. How can it be done? Because of my relatively technical background, I could appreciate the technical side of it. But how could you possibly allow this? Why would people allocate monetary value to this? That was simply beyond my comprehension. But one thing that I understood very quickly, the moment the blockchain technology came on board, the moment we got started with crypto, it's going to continue. It's going to develop very fast. It's going to lead to new perspectives. It's important to understand what these perspectives and opportunities are going to be. It was very difficult because, as I already mentioned, the whole concept is mind-blowing. AI concept, mind-blowing. I'm still doing a bit of work with universities. I'm visiting professors at a couple of universities. And when first I started looking into AI tools, answering exam papers, it was crazy. How is it possible? They produce top-notch answers. And then I had two options. One is keep questioning how it is possible. The second one, try to understand how to create exam papers for students that cannot be done by AI tools. So it's a challenge for people working at universities to reshuffle how they do things and produce assessments which require students to deploy the tools maybe to support their learning, but cannot do the assessments for them. So we need to be positive. Without being positive, it's extremely difficult to make the most of the scenarios. Another important point, I think, is understand that you are doing it for a reason. Digital transformation is very cool. Being online is very cool. Producing digital products and services and having digital hubs, because it's so cool. Many love being part of it, but you need to understand what are the projected outcomes. You shouldn't transform for the sake of transforming. The real reason to transform your operations is to do things better, do things differently, maybe be able to address requirements of a specific niche market, maybe be able to expand your business, to sustain your business. During the wonderful introduction that I received before this presentation, and thanks once again for this, it was mentioned that we're currently working with clients in several countries. We're doing so without visiting those countries. And this is one of the purposes of the transformation. The objective of the transformation is for us to deliver services across the borders. Another example is what I've been able to accomplish with my university work. I've been asked by University of Adelaide, and this is one of the world top 100 universities, number 82 in the world, I believe, to put together a data science team. I'm leading the team for online master of data science. And university is based in Adelaide, which is in the state of South Australia. And once I confirmed that all the teaching is to be done online, I realized there is no need, since I'm not even based in Adelaide myself, to have any lecturers based in Adelaide. So as of now, we built a team of lecturers, which is all over Australia, and a couple of the lecturers are based overseas. So this is a great example of the opportunities that digital transformation provides. If a university wants to find somebody to teach, for example, machine learning subject, or to teach data science subject, they don't have to look locally. They can simply identify the best candidate available globally and start negotiating with this person. And this way you can build extremely strong teams. And just like universities are doing it, many private enterprises are doing it. Board meetings. In the past, if I wanted to attend some board meetings, because as consultants, we're sometimes, invited to join boards or report to boards in various companies we work with. I used to have to fly. And I hated it because when you travel on holiday, it's wonderful. But when you, for example, travel from one city to another city in the same country, and it involves 2 flights on the same day, you may not appreciate it. And prior to COVID, I was pointing out to the clients that maybe there's a chance for me to join online. And I was told, sorry, it's against the board meeting regulations. It's against the company constitution. It all changed with COVID. Now I'm free to fly, but everybody is totally fine for me to join online. So I can really see the perks. These are just some of the reasons, but we need to understand and appreciate these reasons, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, we'll be so excited about digital transformation because it's a cool, trendy term, but instead of getting some practical benefits, we'll be simply wasting our resources and becoming obsolete and becoming irrelevant in this brave new world. So, sorry. Some slides got jumped over when I was playing with them before the presentation. So, some other points about digital transformation. Procrastination never helps. We have to act very, very fast because the environment is subjected to so many technology attacks and business process attacks. Others are being very innovative. And as others are being innovative, within 6 to 8 months, we can expect a totally different environment. Testing of the processes is important, though. I can give you several examples where organizations got very excited about putting the process online. They placed it online without proper testing, and then problems occur. Since I'm based in Australia, I'm probably most familiar with the Australian examples. One legendary example that we have here, our taxation department got so excited a while ago that people can submit their tax returns and tax documents online without properly testing the process. They made it available to companies and to individuals. So which means not only accountants and IT professionals working for the companies were submitting those, they haven't provided sufficient instructions how to do so. And many people and organizations were having tremendous problems, simply because they were feeling lost. They didn't know how to go through the entire process on the website. It was done in a rush. Why did they do it in a rush? They just got very excited. This is another extreme. So one extreme is procrastination. The second one, overexcitement and rushing things. Now, regarding importance of protocols, I think everybody wants to work in an environment where there's many very innovation-minded individuals who are able to make decisions on behalf of the company, who are empowered to make decisions on behalf of the company. Let's get real, ladies and gentlemen. It's often a myth. When we get a job, and before starting to work for my own consultancy, before establishing my own consultancy, I worked with other organizations. I was an IT consultant. I was a program manager. I was a project manager. So I'm quite familiar with the so-called corporate world. Whenever you would start with an organization or a project, it would be emphasized to you that you are a very important person, that you are the decision maker. But the reality is, at least this is the reality that I've witnessed many times in organizations, as an employee, as a consultant, I can put on a different hat and essentially nothing will change. Very difficult to make decisions. The responsibility upon oneself, the responsibility that falls on the shoulders when you are making decisions is very big, even if you are a very senior member of the management. And this is why you need to have protocols rather than have each and individual instance requiring a decision made by a manager. Many decisions require a range of managers agreeing upon what is to be done next. Sometimes you have to go through a company meeting. So you are 1 month away from a company meeting, and it's not such a major decision. It's not something that may be sufficient to justify calling on unplanned additional company board meeting. But at the same time, you are talking to a chief executive officer, he's saying, sorry, Michael, I cannot do this. Without board approval, I just cannot do it. Or if it's a group of company you are working with, such as industry association, I had some experiences with insurance industry. You got to get 2/3 of the insurance companies approving the new technology adoption. So you got to understand what the processes are, because decisions are very difficult to make. And the picture that is showing here, the dog is obviously stuck, not sure which decision to make. But even if you are in a position to make a decision, and the dog certainly is, it's sometimes difficult because you understand what happens. If you go wrong, your so-called error will be personified. You will be made fully responsible. Also, the COVID factor is very interesting to me because it broke down many traditional relationships and fast-tracked, it was still happening, but fast-tracked digital transformation. But what about now? There's still COVID cases happening all over the world. But I would say the environment, the business and the living and social environments, they're more or less back to normal. However, I feel that the COVID factor is still very much a big one, because this concept of disruption that was triggered by COVID, it is still there. We're now getting used to disruptions to business processes. We're now more resilient. We're now stronger. Many organizations are now prepared for known unknowns, even prepared for unknown unknowns. Before COVID, I'm not quite sure how much they were. Sorry, I'll just have a quick look at the chat to see if there's any questions so far. Okay. Nothing up there yet. So moving on to recent projects which my company has completed in the line of digital transformation, I decided to pick the ones which are particularly interesting. So not focusing on the boring technical side of things, but more on the exciting process-oriented kind of things. The first one is COVID time project, allowing international college to move teaching and learning online. Looks fairly trivial if the college would be teaching only IT, management, accounting, law, economics. The college was also teaching cookery. The college was also teaching some other trades. Moving a cookery course online, and it's an accessible course. So it's not a course for people who want to learn how to cook in leisure time. It's a course for people to qualify as chefs. Building assistants, people to work in the building industry, moving these kind of courses online. Flight attendant course moving online. That was quite interesting, quite challenging, but quite rewarding. Because I believe we were the first organization in the Southern Hemisphere who managed to put a cookery course, an accredited cookery course online. The second project listed, also many challenges from the very start, creating integrated online data bank for schools in the state of Queensland in Australia, for public schools. The interesting part was that I think the audience in this presentation comes from many different countries, but probably one thing that we have common across the globe, every country has rich and successful public schools, and in the very same country, some public schools are really struggling in terms of teaching resources, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of getting enough funds to provide sufficient IT support for students. Australia is no different. By creating integrated online data bank, we made sure that those schools that were small, those schools that were poorly staffed, because if you're a little school in rural Queensland, it's very hard to get professional IT people to maintain your systems. So we created a statewide database of teaching and learning materials that everybody could access, and that was supported centrally by the government of Queensland. And that was pivotal for small schools, for small teaching providers to deliver quality services. Not only students were getting quality services, teachers in small regional schools were able to upskill. Because, of course, when you have a big demand for teachers, and this is now very much the case in Australia, and teachers have a choice where they want to work, unless they hail from particular small isolated place, or they're extremely romantic in their dreams, you know, and they want to live far from civilization. They won't go and live in the middle of the bush. There are still some people living there, so there are some government schools, so they can teach in those schools. But they shouldn't feel isolated, including isolated professionally. They should get opportunities to develop and develop their students. Another project that my company has done, developing interactive trading floor for importing and exporting foods and beverages. It was aimed at several countries, but the client is in China. And that was a very interesting experience for us. Because as you may know, when it comes to importing and exporting food and beverage items, health requirements are very strong in every country. And they're unique from country to country. And you need to have internationally recognized trading floor without breaking individual laws of each of the respective countries. And this is quite demanding. it was great learning experience for me because I had to understand how to deal with complex legal environments when working with new technologies, how to deal with the rules and regulations that are contradictory, because this is very much the case when you are looking at international platforms. Each country has certain laws and regulations. All of them need to be honored. How do you do this? How do you do this when your challenge is to do with the ethics and legalities of data management, of import and export of items are multiplied by the new technologies, which are still developing as we speak, and the full capacity and risks are not fully transparent to us. And now coming to the fourth project, which was probably the most gamified project. A client of ours is a small language school. This is how they call themselves, a small language school. When I got to know them better, I realized that while they modestly introduced themselves as small, the staff is about 50 to 60 people. And since they're based in a fairly large city, and they're the largest language center in the province, they're bigger than they appear at first sight. So we created an AI-driven IELTS study center. Not only it enables learners to learn with the AI, you're able to have your work marked by AI, which is significantly cheaper than having it marked by an instructor. You are also able to compete against AI. You can set a level for AI study partner to produce work at, and you can see how you fare. And of course, before releasing the product, we did a bit of testing. First of all, we selected the top students, the ones who already scored at least 4.8 in IELTS. And we had a competition where the top students were undertaking IELTS tasks, competing against AI. AI won. Then came the second round of competition. Instructors working for the school, IELTS instructors, were competing against AI in IELTS for competences. Guess who won? AI. And I'm very happy about it, even though being a human, of course, I'm supposed to support the human team. I'm also supposed to get scared that we create AI products and then the products beat us. I was not on that human team because I was told, sorry, you are not good enough. You are not an IELTS instructor. I couldn't even make the team. And then the tool that I create beats the team. Shall I feel good or shall I feel worried or shall I feel both? I think I should feel neither. I should acknowledge it as something that is very much a trend with the emerging technologies. And I should try to see how I can ride this trend. Now let's be honest. And along with all the happy success stories, along with all the great things that are there to achieve, acknowledge some of the big challenges of digital transformation. First of all, as we've been discussing today, you need to be fully agile in how you do things. With many stakeholders, it's difficult to accomplish on short notice. In many industries, it is difficult because there's no proper coordination across the stakeholders in traditional environments. When I was building a team of lecturers to deliver an online master's program, it was very easy because academics internationally who work for top universities, we've only been inviting academics who work in the world's top 100 universities, Of course, there's already a lot of communication, coordination going on. They may not be so familiar with the specifics of an Australian degree if they're based, for example, in US or in Thailand or in Germany, but it's not a big thing. But when you look, for example, at some other industries, such as not the international banking transactions, but customer service and banking across different countries, customer expectations, there's very clear distinction, very clear diversity in what people expect and what they're used to. And on a short notice, overnight, it's not that easy to implement. But when you're implementing online, the moment your service proposition goes live, it got to work. It's got to be fine-tuned and work like a clock. Then, and I'm being honest here, because when I say about challenges and problems, these are the ones that I experience. And some of them are linked to mistakes that I have made. At times, it did feel like making apple juice out of oranges. Not all business processes are that easy to transfer online, because part of it is customer experience, which has emotional underpinning. Some emotional underpinning is very difficult to replicate, particularly when you look at particular niche markets. My father has this habit. When he has breakfast, when he has coffee after breakfast, he loves to read the newspaper. And of course, having newspaper delivered is more expensive than reading the newspaper online. My father is an accountant. Despite his advanced age, he's computer literate, obviously, still working. So one day I suggested to him, why do you get the newspapers? Why don't you just drink your coffee while sitting next to the computer and read the newspaper online? He gave me a very strange look, and this look said it all. You need to understand that some processes are very important, and we cannot just replicate them by simply saying, you want a newspaper, you want information, here's information. You want to learn, here's how we're going to teach you. You want to do the banking, this is how you send the money. You want to go shopping, go to this portal. Don't go to the marketplace, go through all the stalls, spend a lot of money, go through the stalls one by one. Don't use online auction sites, bargain with the vendors. It's different. We need to understand that people's perceptions of the processes could be very different from what we see as optimal processes, particularly for older people, because younger people or people who are younger at heart, I cannot be young anymore, but at least can pretend I'm young at heart, we're more cynical about it. If we get better value, we say, okay, it's better value, we'll embrace the process. Then new projects are harder to plan for because the risks are new, the challenges are new, the marketplaces are new. It's just a new environment. It's very hard to plan when you are out from the big road right into the wilderness. The environment around you is not so familiar. And of course, environment keeps changing all the time. So this is yet another obstacle. And last but not least, we accept that there are many known unknowns, but still, we never know what is next. COVID is a very good example, actually, ladies and gentlemen, because people say, okay, COVID happened. Now, if another COVID happens, we're prepared. Another pandemic happens, not COVID, something else, we're prepared. We don't know how serious it will be, but at least mentally we're prepared. What if something else happens? Something we have never even considered? Are we prepared? What is the next chapter with the blockchain, with the cryptocurrency? What is going to happen to the currency markets as crypto keeps developing? What will happen to the global banking system? Who knows? Many people are speculating. Many people are discussing how things may be, how things will be. Few understand. Probably nobody understands fully. So some of the lessons that I've been learning over time, learning the hard way, because part of the exciting journey that I'm undertaking with digital transformation technologies, all the risks, I have to accept myself. So one is expanded risk mitigation plans. Be prepared. Two, prioritizing user-centered approaches. We're not developing processes for ourselves to be happy about them and to show how advanced the technology is. We need to have the users, the customers, the clients enjoying them, appreciating them. Otherwise, no matter how technically advanced those are, who cares? Thirdly, pre-release testing for all of the protocols. 4, involve developers from the very start in the protocol design. And likewise, people who are developing protocols should be involved in development. They should work hand in hand. You need to have full understanding of what is going on as a team. And of course, after the release, provide ongoing support. It's not that you release a new technical product and then you say, look, we transformed. We're a fully digital company now. Let's celebrate it. And now things will work smoothly. I don't think it will ever happen. And one very important point, and I stick my picture on the slide where I'm discussing it because I'm also human, the human factor. It's critical because we're not robots. Our clients are not robots, and robotic responses are not going to happen, at least in the near future. With all the AI developments, while there are already some speculations starting about AIs running the world, I don't see it happening in the near future. There will still be humans in the middle of all the processes. So we need to acknowledge the human factor. And yes, AI is clever, but we're smarter. There are so many dimensions where we can beat the AI. So many qualitative dimensions where AI is still struggling to a significant extent. So also remember that if you don't transform, you'll be consistently dealing with breakdowns of supply chain, deregulated marketplaces, and lack of operational efficiency. We have to transform because traditional relationships are no more. As the world is changing, so should we. Regarding specific technologies, just some to highlight. Automation is becoming huge. Augmented reality is becoming huge. Avatar movie was just the start. And of course, AI and machine learning. Particularly, I would like to highlight unsupervised machine learning, where machines are now training machines. Something which has amazing future potential, which will be unlocked in the next maybe 5 to 10 years. We will soon see the results. And last but not least, moment of futurism. This is what awaits us very soon. Digitalization of the marketplaces and society will remain very clearly an ongoing process. Increasing AI deployment, optimal automation, everything will be automated because it's cheaper and more efficient. And of course, world without borders. The digital world. Never mind where you are located, you can offer your services and products worldwide. You can have jobs worldwide. Thank you so much for having me over today. And if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take those. And it's a great pleasure to be here.
Is there any questions from the participant side? You may ask now. Now the session is open for Q&A. Is there any questions from the participant side? You may raise your hand. Is there any questions from the participant side? I hope there is no other questions from the participant side. So let's wind up the session. Thank you, Doctor. That was a thought-provoking talk. Thank you for imparting your knowledge and remarks on the concepts. Thank you once again, Doctor.
It's a pleasure.
Kind information for the participants. You will receive your webinar certificates in 7 to 10 working days. And also you can register to upcoming webinar on confirmatory factor analysis of the new ecological paradigm and ethic entrepreneurship through our website. Thank